Two investigates Amy Davis uncovered millions of dollars diverted by the Houston Housing Authority with not a single cent reaching the people it's meant to help.
America, I'm going to tell you a story that's going to make your blood boil. The Houston Housing Authority spent $11.4 million of taxpayer money on a vacant church property that was worth less than half that amount. The corrupt CEO who orchestrated this deal got a $210,000 golden parachute when he was forced to resign under investigation. But here's the kicker. He just got hired for the exact same job in Flint, Michigan, where residents still don't have clean water 10 years after their crisis began.
Figure out why you're so resistant to talk about the church.
I don't have what's the need of me talking to you about a situation that we made and we carried out.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This is exactly what's wrong with government bureaucracy in America. Corrupt officials get rewarded for failures while taxpayers and people who need help get screwed over. Let me break down this absolutely insane deal for you. In December 2020, a developer named Chris Senegal, who calls himself Mr. Buy Back the Block, purchased the Pleasantville Grove Missionary Baptist Church, known as the Dome Church, for $6.7 million. This church was right under the freeway near the 59 and I-10 intersection in Houston's 5th Ward. Now here's where it gets interesting. Before the deal closed, Senegal was already publishing renderings of a brand new apartment complex and announced he was partnering with the Houston Housing Authority. He promised 300 units in partnership with the Houston Housing Authority. Social media posts show that he was tight with then HHA President David Northern and the board chairman Laurent Snowden. But when the Houston Housing Authority staff actually evaluated this property for low-income housing potential, they gave it only 54 points out of a possible 100. No access to good schools, jobs, or grocery stores, and any rational organization would have walked away from this particular deal.
But instead of just walking away, the housing authority purchased the property outright, paying Senegal $11.4 million, nearly $5 million more than Senegal paid just 2.5 years earlier. These closing documents reveal 3 companies, all owned by Chris Senegal, walked away with $3.3 million profit.
And get this, after closing, HHA discovered Senegal owed $132,000 in back taxes that he never paid. The same month the deal was closed, the city of Houston declared October 5th Chris Senegal Empowerment Day. You cannot make this stuff up, guys. But the church deal is just the tip of the iceberg here. While the Houston Housing Authority was claiming their funds to provide rent relief had dried up, David Northern and his executive team were living it up on taxpayer dollars.
So we looked at credit card statements going all the way back to 2023, and we found HHA leaders eating out at Houston's fanciest restaurants and celebrating with multiple parties and massages at work.
We're talking about $1,153 for a single lunch at Joey Uptown, where 13 executives enjoyed lobster tails, ribeyes, and cheesecake, a 2-hour cocktail reception that cost over $7,000, holiday parties costing $8,000, an employee appreciation lunch that costs more than $10,000, and my personal favorite, $2,300 for a chair massage at the office. Think about that for a second. While families are facing evictions and waiting years for housing assistance, these bureaucrats are getting massages at work paid for with your tax dollars.
What does $2,300 mean to you?
It means a lot. It means almost 2 months of rent paying.
A single mom who waited 4 years for housing assistance put it perfectly. That $2,300 for massages represents almost 2 months of rent for her. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. This is money that could have helped real families keep roofs over their heads. Now let me tell you about another David Northern special. The air conditioning unit project perfectly illustrates how these corrupt bureaucrats operate. Houston Housing Authority set out to install 1,615 window AC units with a budget of $2.3 million. The final cost, over $5.4 million.
And Sophia, if this project sounds familiar to you, it's because you interviewed HHA President and CEO David Northern right here in August of 2023.
How were you able to get this type of funding?
Well, Department of Housing and Urban Development provide funding yearly to all housing authorities called capital funds. And so we looked at this as an opportunity.
Northern claimed they split the contract 22 different ways to give opportunities to small minority and women-owned businesses. Sounds noble, doesn't it? Except many of these quote-unquote businesses were formed just a few months before getting these contracts, and some weren't even located in Texas. And here's the best part. They paid contractors by the hour for weather delays, material shortages, and days when residents wouldn't even let them inside. You literally paid these contractors to do nothing. Over $128,000 for zero work performed. One contractor, Lamb Woods, started a company and got an emergency contract to remove incorrectly installed AC units and reinstall them because it was classified as a quote-unquote emergency. There would be no bidding process here. Woods walked away with over $1.3 million for fixing work that was screwed up in the first place. So what happened when all this corruption was exposed? David Northern was forced to resign under investigation, but instead of facing the consequences, he got rewarded with a $210,000 golden parachute.
So he resigned while he was under investigation by the Houston Housing Authority board. Northern received 6 months of pay and paid time off. That was a total of more than $210,000. But I want to show you something here when it catches up. 469 hours of that was for paid time off. That's $65,000 for like 58 vacation days or more than 11 weeks of pay.
The problem here is nobody ever tracked whether Northern actually used the vacation time, so the payroll system showed he was owed everything. But wait, guys, it gets worse. The settlement agreement says HHA agrees not to investigate Northern's conduct or won't issue additional findings on his potential corruption. They literally paid him $210,000 to make the investigation just go away.
HHA agrees not to begin or continue any investigation of Northern's conduct while HHA's president and CEO, including any allegations of wrongdoing made against Northern in the ongoing investigation of those air conditioning projects of HHA. And then lastly, it says if such an investigation occurs, HHA will not issue findings on Northern's potential culpability. Now, the board chairman did tell me that the investigation into those contracts and payouts is ongoing. They haven't stopped that.
The board chairman had to investigate who authorized paying Northern this money before even signing the settlement. They gave him the full $210,000 up front and then had to threaten to claw it back if he didn't sign within 24 hours. The new HHA president, Jamie Bryant, came in and immediately started cleaning house. He eliminated multiple senior positions and fired several key players from Northern's administration.
One of the very first things I did when I stepped in here was I turned off the spigot and said, turn it off.
Jamie Bryant says he turned off the flow of money out of the Houston Housing Authority, reviewing new projects and people on his team.
A lot of the key leaders, vice presidents, senior vice presidents, folks like that were under Mr. Northern's administration are no longer here.
Bryant actually thanked the investigative reporters for exposing this corruption, saying the board wasn't aware of what was happening.
This isn't about my ego, but I am the face of the agency going forward. And if I'm not personally willing to stand up in front of a school board superintendent, the mayor, city council, a county commissioner, a local super neighborhood council, and vehemently and passionately defend what we're doing, we're not doing it.
Now here's where the story gets absolutely insane. After being forced to resign amid corruption investigation, David Northern just got hired in the exact same position, CEO of Housing Commission, and get this, Flint, Michigan.
Now, former Housing Authority CEO David Northern has a new job. Northern has been named the CEO of the Housing Commission in Flint, Michigan.
Let me remind you guys what Flint, Michigan is dealing with. This is a city that's been without clean drinking water for over 10 years after their water crisis began in 2014. Residents still don't trust their tap water. Thousands of homes haven't had lead pipes replaced, and families are still dealing with the permanent health problems from lead poisoning.
April 25th, 2014, politicians in Flint, Michigan pushed a button switching the city's drinking water source from Detroit system to the Flint River, later admitting their critical failure to treat that river water, causing it to corrode lead pipes and poison people. This week, 10 years later, Melissa Mays says Flint still isn't fully fixed.
So let me get this straight. A city that can't provide clean water to its residents just hired a guy who was forced to resign for wasting millions and millions of dollars that should have helped low-income families. The Flint Housing Commission knew about the allegations but hired him anyway because they're determined that the allegations are just quote-unquote allegations.
In a statement to ABC 12, interim Flint Housing Commission CEO Damon Duncan said the FHC was aware of the allegations, writing, quote, "During his interview, he was very transparent with the board about what was going on. The board did their own research, performed a background check, and determined that the allegations were just that, allegations."
The interim CEO said that Northern was transparent about the allegations and that receiving a severance package somehow proves that there was nothing criminal happening. This is the kind of logic that keeps corrupt bureaucrats in power. America, this story perfectly illustrates everything wrong with government bureaucracy. David Northern oversaw the waste of millions of taxpayer dollars while families waited years for housing assistance. He got a $210,000 golden parachute to walk away from his corruption and then immediately got hired for the same job in another city. Meanwhile, the people who actually needed help, single mothers facing evictions, families waiting for housing assistance, residents of Flint, Michigan who still don't have clean water, continue to suffer while bureaucrats get rich off of their misery. The Houston Housing Authority spent $11.4 million on a vacant church that was worth half that amount. They paid millions for AC units that were installed incorrectly. They spent thousands of dollars on lobster dinners and office massages while claiming they didn't have money to help people with rent. And the guy who orchestrated all of this, he's now in charge of housing people in Flint, Michigan, a city that's been failing its residents for over a decade. This is why we need real accountability in government. This is why we need to eliminate these bloated bureaucracies that serve themselves instead of people. And this is why we need to stop rewarding failure with golden parachutes and new jobs. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.